Hello and welcome where Team America will be casting this. We've got Chester alongside moderator for the Culture versus Dreamfleet. Culture has decided to bring a Balgos and Oneros, 2 Fleet Hurricanes, 2 Fleet Harbingers, 2 Arbitrators, and a pair of Crewers.
Kind of interesting with the Arbitrators, but again, we're seeing that 4 Navy battlecruiser setup. Dreamfleet, on the other hand, bringing a short-man team, 2 Fleet Typhoons for a Backbone Guardian, double Rook, Prophecy, Manicore, and double Nemesis. Maud, talk to me. Who do you think has the advantage just looking at the lineup?
Initially, I like the Culture's lineup. I think that they're going to be able to completely TD the Fleet Typhoons and the Nemesis from applying any sort of damage. And once they can work down the Guardian and the Rooks, I think they'll be in a good position.
How do you feel about Rooks in general in the AT? Here we go. Match is on right now.
I think the Rooks need to get jams onto the logistics and to shut down the TDs and webs that the Culture have brought.
Yeah, I just see Dreamfleet just spreading all of their E-War right now, jams on top of the Oneros and Balgorn, as well as T3D, as well as TDs over their BCs, which is going to be very important because those BCs are going to do a lot of damage to those Rooks and can easily kill Manicore and Nemesis. I'm going to be kind of interested to see if any of them are going to be able to pick off these bombers under TDs.
I like that we already have the Guardian tackled and neuted. The newts are really going to shut down his ability to repair anything, especially as we can see the Nemesis is already taking damage on Dreamfleet's side.
Yeah, I think the Guardian probably held down by either the Balgorn of Culture or maybe finally they've gotten in a little bit closer with the battlecruisers. Do you think that it's worthwhile just to newt the Guardian out and try and just like force through the Nemesis damage, or should you kill that first?
You know, I think it's whatever their strategy is, it's working out for them fine, as the Nemesis is into low armor. We can see that the reps are intermittent, but meanwhile, Mr. Toucher is already breaking. He's into low armor, and I don't think the Oneros is able to lock him. We don't see any incoming reps onto him.
No, the Culture's Oneros is totally safe. Just totally lets that Fleet Hurricane drop first blood to Dreamfleet. This short-man team is actually working out very well here.
Yeah, normally undermanned teams don't particularly work out too great, but we can see that the Nemesis is stabilized, and they're going to be moving on to the next primary, which appears to be the next incoming Fleet Hurricane, trying to get rid of the alpha artillery damage that he's surely bringing.
You know, I think that with the way that I'm seeing the matchup right here, the Oneros on Angela Lagoon's side is actually sitting pretty comfy. He's not getting bothered by anything other than jams, which granted are going to let him slip through maybe on the smaller ships like the Crewers, but to see him lose a Fleet Hurricane, either those jams are being super effective or the DPS that Dreamfleet is being able to actually bring here is a lot more than we're expecting. I don't see their attack bar being all that great, but what do you think is causing them to be able to just like absolutely punch through these heavy Navy BCs so quickly?
They've got a lot of damage in the form of Fleet Typhoons, and any sort of bomber damage is going to do appreciable damage to a battlecruiser, and that's putting a lot of damage. We can see a lot of rep drones are keeping that Hurricane Fleet issue alive, even when the Oneros is occasionally getting jammed.
I think that with the Dreamfleet setup, their double Fleet Typhoons are actually RLML fit, so you're going to see these kind of bursts of damage, which actually go fairly well with the ECM type of setups, because if you do get a jam on an Oneros, 2 Fleet Typhoons shooting RHML are going to be able to actually put on all of their DPS and punch through, but they're not going to have the amount of DPS as a cruise, you know, Fleet Foon would have against a battlecruiser, but they would be much better at applying to Oneros or anything else. It's kind of an interesting decision if you're going to go for an RHML or versus cruise. Do you think that there's a clear winner?
I think it depends a lot on what you bring for your wing. Cruises require a lot of heavy damps, or rather target painters, and then they have to be tackled in order to apply to any smaller ships. Rapid heavies don't really require the amount of backbone support that you would have from, namely, a Confessor or a Spipal in order to do that kind of damage. We can see that the rep drones are keeping this Fleet Hurricane alive, even though he's not apparently taking any sort of reps right now.
No, he's not getting any reps at all. It seems that the Rooks are trying to kind of consolidate their jams onto more important targets. That being said, though, the Rooks are going to be under newt pressure from Balgorns, and the amount of cap that a Rook needs to be able to run all of its newts, all of its jams, especially just under pressure of those newts, is going to be very difficult. So if these jams start becoming more and more intermittent, maybe the Culture can actually step up and start getting a kill here. It looks like they're priming the Guardian, which is nosed, webbed, and painted, but they just lost a Fleet Hurricane. Maud, do you think they're going to have the damage to do it?
I think they've lost too much. They've had a critical mass lost from their 2 Fleet Hurricanes. They've got the Guardian to about half full. They've got him finally fully tackled, but I think they've lost a critical mass, and I don't know if they're going to be able to bring it back. The Rooks now, with less targets to jam on field, can spread those jams across the rest of the Culture field, and once you get the ECM snowball working, it's very hard to bring it back.
Yeah. Right now what I'm seeing is we have to keep a sharp eye on the Oneros of Angela Lou. He is burning away as fast as he can from 2 Fleet Typhoons, which are are a little bit in newt range on him, and they're kind of hitting him with their heavy newts that they can definitely bring. He needs to stay alive right now, because if they lose this Onieros, it's going to be an issue. The issue with Culture is it doesn't look to me like they're protecting their Logi all that much, because he's getting forced off by these newts. These TFIs aren't being screened. They're moving in closer, and they are losing Harbingers. They're losing their BCs. And if you lose your 4 BC core in a BC core composition, you literally have nothing left.
I mean, that's exactly why you have the 2 Crores there. You bring them for the 2 cheap points, then they have bonus webs. So they have the bonus to the optimal webs, and they can keep those Fleet Typhoons at bay, keep them out of the newt range of the Onieros in order to keep it from being able to have to shut its reps off.
You know, I really like how aggressive Dreamfleet is being with the Fleet Typhoons. It's kind of unfortunate that because the Balgorn is literally focusing everything it can, the Culture's Balgorn is focusing everything it can on the Guardian, that these Fleet Typhoons are basically allowed to run amok, completely not screened at all, into the backline, forcing the Onieros back. So not only...
Did that Navy Harbinger just run out of the arena, or did it just get alphaed by the cruise missiles?
No, RHML, it may have run out of the arena. I did not see that, though. I don't see her back that far out, so I think we're good. I think it was just straight up alphaed. I think the Onieros on the Culture's side, you know, Angela's trying to do what he can, but with 2 TFIs chasing him down and between the jams, he's not in range, and if he is in range, it's in deep fall off. The Balgorn has completely neglected their Logi and is sitting right on top of the Guardian. And you know what? The 2 Fleet Typhoons are running through his fleet and absolutely destroying it.
Yeah, without the Guardian... without the Balgorn in order to web down the Fleet Typhoons were able to just run past them, with the Crewers being possibly jammed out by the Rooks. You can't really do anything. If you have to keep your Onieros up, you have to do it via not getting neuted out.
The Culture doesn't have anything to screen with at all. Arbitrators aren't going to hold up to Fleet Typhoons, and not very fast. And the 4 Navy BCs, if they go up and end up screening a ship like the Fleet Typhoons, they're also going to be putting themselves in kind of a risky situation. Fleet Typhoons are very, very fast, especially if they're going to have links off of the Prophecy. They're going to be at the same speed, or in some cases faster, than Navy BCs. So for the Balgorn to completely ignore his own Logi, to get completely tunnel visioned on Dreamfleet's Guardian, and basically sacrifice his Onieros' ability to help out his backline, I think that's really what was a turning point in the match for me.
It wasn't just that he only sacrificed his own heroes, right? He also sacrificed the links that they had on top of those armor battle cruisers. And once they had the links, they don't have the armor resist, they don't have the skirmish speed, and that really started to snowball the match. We can see that we've got jams from the Rooks onto nearly every ship that of the main Culture support line.
Yeah, and as the number of ships that the Dreamfleet Rooks have to jam becomes smaller and smaller, like you said earlier, those jams are just going to keep stacking up. And what we're seeing here now is Angela Lagoon's Onieros is just completely blanketed in all of the ECM, all of the damage. Once that drops, it's just going to be free-for-all. Balgorns are just taking apart the very, very lightly armored T1 cruisers and the Arbitrators and the Crewers, which are not going to be able to stand up against the DPS that Dreamfleet has. They have not lost a ship. I'm really surprised that the Rooks held up as well as they did against the 4 BC comp like that. Maybe the jams came across stronger than I thought, or maybe even in this armor comp, they just didn't have the ECCM scripts to kind of push past the jam limit.
Yeah, I would have really liked to see either some sort of a remote or a local sensor booster with the ECCM script. They shouldn't be really getting jammed with that kind of a sensor strength. You've got the faction battle cruisers that already have a higher sensor strength, then compounded by a heated sensor integrity link from presumably one of the armored battle cruisers in the core, and also the sensor booster ECCM script.
Brutor in the Balgorn for the Culture just took an MJD to the corner of the arena. He is currently 25 kilometers away from the edge. I'm debating if he's going to try to go kill himself or not. This match, I think, is pretty much turned completely in favor of Dreamfleet. They'd have to massively throw it at this point to have any chance to come back. It looks like the Balgorn is now, I'm not sure if he's going to turn back for that last micro jump drive and just keep running to stay alive. But right now, the Dreamfleet, Culture has a Crewer and also the Arbitrator pulling back to it. So I'm not exactly sure what their plan is, but they're just kind of pulling away here. It'd be unfortunate if we're just going to watch the last minute or a minute so of this match just kind of tick out with these 3 ships just sitting back over here. But it does look like Dreamfleet's finally giving some chase. Manticores are moving into position to continue their DPS.
Yeah, I think Culture has realized that they've lost the match and their pilots are just trying to save their ships. These are all real ships on Tranquility. This is the live server, so any ships that are lost permanently, so maybe just trying to keep what they have alive.
Yeah, I almost thought that maybe the Balgorn was just trying to suicide itself in an attempt to, again, just not give any loot or anything like that instead of just dying. He needs to make a decision quickly here, though, because it looks like finally the Dream Fleet is moving in. Drones are moving in here. So he's just sitting right on top of the MJD beacon. We're going to see if anything's going to happen with that. But overall, Dream Fleet, I'm actually very surprised with this composition. The Rooks actually came through. You don't really see Rooks all that often in the AT, certainly not very much last year. And this year, I think this is, I want to say this is the first match we've seen with Rooks. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't believe we've seen any of the Rooks. Certainly none of the matches I covered on Event T had any Rooks.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think with ECM? I kind of gave my analysis of ECM in the current tournament back when we were at the analyst desk. Just with the last few seconds here counting down. Got anything quick?
Not for 13 points, not on a Rook. Maybe a Blackbird, maybe a Kitsune that can be survivable, but I don't think investing 13 points into a Rook is worth it.
Fair enough. Just sending you guys back to the booth here. Dream Fleet decisively taking out the Culture 74-0.